Hello, I'm Rico Caveglia. Welcome to this episode of Fearless Aging. And we have three very valuable interviews for you today. The first one is about living your life on purpose, which is so important for your health and for being successful in every aspect of your life. The second interview is about the best probiotic formula. Now, we all know these days how important probiotics, so we have a healthy gut, but so many of the products on the market does not get through the acid in our stomach, and they're very poorly absorbed. But this product is highly absorbable. And the third segment is called Quantum Yoga. It's all about how to energize your nervous system for good health and longevity. All right, so I'm going to play a short message from our sponsor, and we'll get right into it.
Stop forcing down those massive pills that end up in your toilet, not in your bloodstream. Hello, I'm Rico Caveglia. For the very first time in my 43 years as a personal trainer and wellness coach, I am endorsing and recommending a unique line of nutritional supplements. Superior Source produces an exclusive line of microlingual tablets that dissolve instantly under your tongue. I have a hard time swallowing large tablets and capsules, but these tiny tablets are the easiest to take I have ever found. These products are clinically tested for purity, potency, and have the highest rate of absorption. Microlingual tablets are ideal for those with digestive challenges and for infants and children, as there are no pills to swallow. They offer a full line of key nutritional supplements, including many for children. So why give these supplements a try? They're easy to take, highly absorbable, and inexpensive. Join thousands who have ditched their pills. One tablet under your tongue will make you a believer.
All right. Hello, I'm Rico Caveglia. Welcome to this episode of Fearless Aging. And the title of this episode is one that I'm really interested in. It's going to be really valuable for you. It's entitled Second Act Strategies for Living with Purpose and Joy. And our expert guest, her name is Anna Quigley. She is a transformational speaker, catalyst, and founder of Journey to Purpose. She has been called the intuitive Yoda for her deep insights and practical wisdom. Anna empowers individuals to break free from challenges and uncover and live their true purpose. Through practical tools such as intuition, sensory imagination, and quantum mind-body techniques, she assists women to move through major life shifts, release limitations, clarify next steps, and create lives of authenticity, fulfillment, and impact, which is so good. So Anna Quigley, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks, Rico. My pleasure, truly.
Yeah, and so, purpose is such an important thing that we need more people to be living on purpose. So this is something that I'm really interested in, so I'm really happy to have you on.
Thank you.
So my first question, as always, is tell us just a little briefly about your journey and how you came to develop this program and how you got into coaching people on their purpose.
Oh, well, I've from the time I was in my early 20s, I was asking myself, what am I here for? What the heck is my purpose on this planet? And I struggled with that. And it's been something that's bubbled up throughout my life various times in between making a living and, doing all of the normal things. And I started interviewing people. I love biographies. How did you do that? How did you figure out how to do that? And several years ago, I started interviewing people on how they found their purpose. And it just became more and more evident when I left a job a couple of years ago that this was my time. I'm midlife and beyond a bit. And this has been waiting for me to live this purpose. I've been living it in my own life, but to share it. It's my time to share what I've learned. And if it helps someone, then that's my purpose right now.
Well, before you ask you why you think, understanding your purpose and living is so important, why do you think so many people struggle with this? Because the majority of people are not living on purpose. And you know what I found, Anna, you know, working with people all these years, as a personal trainer and health coach, that's what I finally realized is why more people aren't taking better care of their health, because they're not living on purpose. Because when, as you know, when you live on purpose, then you're excited about your life. You're motivated. You want to get out there and do what you do. And then you realize that your physical body is your vehicle for doing that. So
Right.
you better take the best care of it as you possibly can. So why do you think so many people are not understanding or are not living on purpose?
Well, and I don't think people struggle so much with the actual aging. I think they're struggling with uncertainty. And there's actually a medical term called purpose anxiety. You know,
Oh,
life,
uh-oh, we lost your sound.
there we go. I'm back.
Okay, good.
Okay, great. Um, as I was saying, there's something actually called, there is a medical term called purpose anxiety.
Mm.
And life looks good, but it feels flat. But honestly, I believe that our purpose stems from our unique gifts, the things that we were born with, the things that your friends may, come up to you and go, oh my gosh, Rico, I would give anything if I could do what you do. How do you do that? And you're like me and a lot of other people, we kind of say, oh, well, thank you. That's nice, but it's just something I do. We work on what we're supposed to be doing, the career and the family, and we, as I say, tick all the boxes, but we ignore these unique gifts, which are really the keys and the clues to living our purpose. So I think in a lot of ways they just get dismissed and ignored as not as as important, and they're really critical to finding and living our purpose and living authentically.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, and that's why so many people, as we do age, as you said, get past the thing we have to take care of our family and all this work things, career and all that, and that's why so many people are not aging well and end up dying way too young, as most people are. So,
Yeah.
I think yeah, talk a little bit about why when you discover your purpose and you're living more with more joy, how that really affects your health and your longevity.
They have documented that it does. It can increase your prosperity. It just brings joy and a sense of fulfillment. It brings peace to us. And who doesn't want more joy? And we're raised with this work ethic. If it doesn't take a lot of effort, we don't have to work really hard at it, then it's not really success. And we've had it backwards. We've had these gifts with us from birth, like original equipment in our car. And they're functioning like our GPS in the car. They're guiding us, and they're being ignored. Midlife is kind of a natural pausation, a little natural pause point, and I call it our midlife calling, not our midlife crisis, because we don't have to blow up our lives or start all over again at midlife when we start paying more attention to these inner callings, because we've done the family, we've done the career. And, this is true with successful people. It doesn't matter whether you've had a great life or you've struggled, but the struggling comes from not paying attention to these callings, these natural gifts that come so easily to us.
Yeah, don't you think maybe it's because too we live in this society now that's so distracting, and we're so distracted by just all of our technology and all these things, and so I think I'm sure you probably recommend people to you need to slow down a little bit and unplug a little bit and just and tune into your intuition so you can connect with your higher self and know what you should be doing.
Absolutely. Clarity comes, but we need to give ourselves a time to pause, some silence, getting into nature. Oh, that's great. Something I call the power of the shower. When you're in a shower, you've turned off the rational mind, the to-do list that's constantly going. And
Mhm.
we find moments where we get inspiration. Waking up first thing in the morning, we've been we've shut down the rational mind and all of the chaos, and so often we get insights when we wake up, answers to things that we've been wanting to do and wanting to figure out. And they're there. Well, why? Because we've changed the frequency. We've lowered the volume on the chaos, and we're tuning in to that inner wisdom, into that inner knowledge.
Yeah, absolutely. I like how you say the best is yet to come. And
Yeah.
that's, if you're living your purpose, the best is yet to come, because like I said, you can really tune into what your natural abilities are and talents are and live your joy and serve other people. And that's really rewarding.
Absolutely. And one of the statistics I think is interesting is that when managers, even in the workplace, you can utilize these gifts especially, but when managers nurture and support these unique gifts that their employees have, they can see up to 36% increase in performance. Now, how amazing is that? Instead of focusing on, oh, you need to do this better, focus on those gifts that the people you're working with have. And when you're focusing on your own, you're more committed to your job. You enjoy it more. It brings benefits on every level, and peace and calm in your physical body. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, it definitely improves your health, your performance in every aspect of life.
Every
And
aspect.
it affects everybody else that you come in contact with as well. But talk
Yeah.
a little bit about who your ideal client is, and then and some of the ways that you work with them.
Well, I work with anyone who's experiencing that purpose anxiety, but primarily people 50, 45, 50 and beyond. And I have clients that are in their 70s that are at the point now where they're ready to really do something else, to share what they've learned, all this wisdom and knowledge and experience. It's time to give back. My approach really is finding those unique gifts first, uncovering them. It's kind of like a little archaeological dig sometimes.
Mhm.
It's look at what comes easily to us. And sometimes we're not clear. So what I suggest is that you start asking questions. Talk to your family, your friends, your coworkers, casual acquaintances even, and ask them, what do you think I'm really good at?
Mhm.
Some of those answers I promise will surprise you.
Yeah.
But also ask, what 3 words would you say describe me when I'm at my best, when I'm really rocking it? Those will start giving you some other ideas, things that you haven't looked at or even recognized. And listen to your intuition, of course. That takes those gifts that you uncover and helps you find a path to express them, to use them. And self-assessment, definitely. What did you love when you were junior high, high school, before you realized, oh, that's not really a practical career move? Or,
Right.
probably shouldn't study art or philosophy. How am I going to make a living? Or when people thought, well, yeah, you're good, but art's not your, that you're never going to make money or be, successful as an artist, all of those things. Look back at what you loved when you were younger, because again, these gifts have been with you forever. So they've shown up in little bubbles throughout your life. So self-assessment is good for that. And all of that is what I offer in my second act playbook, which I'm happy to share with your viewers. So
Yeah, that's right. Uh, uh, Anna's offering us a free gift for our audience. It's your second act workbook to get started in this process. I like how you call it the journey to purpose. And so we'll definitely put all the information in the show description of how they can contact and how they can get their gift. And
perfect.
so we'll talk a little bit about, so let's say someone is pretty clear on what their purpose is and what they want to do, but maybe give them some quick steps that so they have the courage and to actually get started and to actually do it.
Right, right. Well, you start with asking questions, but then I also go into, with the clarity, working on your intuition. We all have it, and it can be learned. You can enhance the skill for listening to your intuition. It comes through every one of our senses. Our senses pick up most of the information that comes at us every single second. not our brain. And so when we get those gut feelings, or when we get those chills, or those aha moments, or we're seeing repetitive signs or words over and over again, that's your intuition guiding you. I suggest tracking that too, because it's so easy to dismiss it. Sometimes you go, oh yeah, what happened on Monday? Oh yeah, I had that insight. Start writing it down. You'll start building that muscle, that intuitive guide. And then action has to be taken on this when you get the insights and the clarity. And that's where mind body tools have been so amazingly helpful for me. It's important to use sensory imagination. The crazy thing is neuroscience has proven that the brain doesn't know the difference between what we consider reality and what we can envision at a very deep level. So envision yourself having achieved what you want to achieve. It could be a year from now, it could be 2 years from now, whatever that time frame is. And you don't have to know what it is yet. That's what's fun. How are you going to feel when you are living in your authentic self? You're really serving and using your purpose. What's that going to feel like? And who's going to be around you? How are you going to feel? Bring every sense you can into that. What's your environment going to be? What kind of work are you doing? Or where are you going to be doing that? You're literally reprogramming, re-engineering your brain. And oh, yeah, that's what we're working on. Okay, and you will get insights and additional information. It's such an amazing tool. Our brain is so powerful, and we can work with it to create the life we want.
Absolutely. Well, we're just about out of time. I really thank you for your work and thank you for a great interview. And I just want to add, so yeah, when you work with a coach, coaching is known to be the surest and fastest way to achieve your goals and any goal that you have. So I highly recommend you get a hold of Anna. Coaching will really help you to not only tune into what your purpose is, but how to get started and how to actually be living your purpose, and it's going to transform your life. So once again, thanks for your work and thanks so much for being here.
Thanks, Rico. Really appreciate it. I could talk about this all day long.
Yeah, I totally understand. So I really appreciate you being here and appreciate our audience. So thank you all for being here, and let your friends know about the Fearless Aging TV show.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, we are back. So I have another short message for you, important message, and then we'll get into our second segment.
Your 60s, 70s, and 80s, you were healthier, stronger, with more vitality than in your 40s. It's not genetics, it's not luck, it's the ageless living lifestyle.
Hello, I'm Rico Caveglia, creator of the Ageless Living Lifestyle. I've had the good fortune to work with hundreds of individuals just like you to greatly improve their overall health and well-being. So my clients aren't just staying healthy, they're out hiking mountains, playing sports, and feeling better in their 70s and 80s than they did in their 40s. My clients and I are living agelessly, and I know you can as well. So let's have a friendly conversation about your personal aging challenges and your goals. There's no pressure, just an honest conversation about where you are now and where you want to be, and whether the ageless living lifestyle is a good fit for you. So I'm here for you. Let's talk.
Okay, I think we're ready to roll this time. Hello, I'm Rico Caveglia. Welcome to this episode of Fearless Aging. And the title of today's episode is The New Frontier in Microbiome Science for a Healthy Gut. And our expert guest, his name is Ross Pelton. He's a pharmacist, the author of 13 books, and he is the Director of Science and Education for the Dallas-based Essential Formulas. Ross is also known as the Natural Pharmacist, and in October 1999, he was named one of the top 50 most influential pharmacists in the United States by America's Druggist magazine. So, Ross Pelton, welcome to our show. Thanks so much for being here.
Hi, Rico. It's a pleasure to be on with you.
Yeah, we finally touched base again. I know you were on my podcast quite a long time ago.
Yeah.
We got together. Yeah. So this is really a good topic. It's really in the forefront of health these days. So before we really talk about how virtually all chronic age and related diseases are associated with gut problems, I want to make sure our audience really understands really what we're talking about. So let's define a few things first. First of all, how do you actually define the gut? What makes up the gut?
Well, it's important for people to realize that the gut microbiome is estimated to be about 100 trillion bacteria. That's an enormous amount of bacteria. But what a lot of people don't realize is that over 99.9% of all the bacteria in the gastrointestinal tract reside in the colon. So the colon is really the site of the gut microbiome. And so we'd like to start there with the understanding that we're really talking about the environment in the colon as being the ecosystem for the gut microbiome. Now, there's a big misunderstanding between probiotics and prebiotics and postbiotic metabolites. The beneficial...
Ross, before we get into that, I want to ask you a few more definitions for people. Okay, so mainly the gut is the colon, the large intestine, right?
Yeah.
So talk about really what the colon does and how things are. All of our nutrients and things are absorbed through the colon. Talk about what the gut does and why it's so important to our health.
You bet. So the main activity that happens in the colon is that your beneficial bacteria in the colon break down components in the food that you eat and produce secondary compounds that we call postbiotic metabolites. And the food for your probiotic bacteria are dietary fibers and compounds called polyphenols. And I've got multiple studies, Rico, that show that 85 to 90% of Americans are not consuming adequate amounts of plant-based foods, which are the primary source of dietary fibers and polyphenols. So most people are not feeding their gut bacteria well, which means they can't produce these postbiotic metabolites. And one of the most important things that we've learned is that the primary job of your beneficial bacteria is to produce these postbiotic metabolites. These are critical health regulating compounds that influence every single organ system in the body, especially your brain and your immune system. So the new frontier or the paradigm shift in microbiome science is understanding that your health is not directly regulated by the probiotic or your beneficial bacteria. It's regulated by the compounds these bacteria produce. And unfortunately, because of antibiotics and poor diets and a number of other things, most people are not efficiently producing these health regulating postbiotic metabolites. And that leads me into discussing Dr. Ohhira's probiotics. And disclosure, I'm the scientific director for Essential Formulas. We have the sole rights to import and distribute Dr. Ohhira's probiotics from Japan in North America. And Dr. Ohhira's probiotics are made in a very unique method. It's a multi-year fermentation process where many different types of fruits and vegetables and mushrooms and seaweeds are added to large fermentation vats. And the product ferments for 3 to 5 years. There's an original formula that's a 3-year fermentation process. The professional formula is a 5-year fermentation process. And during this multi-year fermentation process, the bacteria are breaking down the food and creating over 500 of these postbiotic metabolites. So this is really what makes Dr. Ohhira's so different than every other commercial probiotic in the world. We're not primarily delivering billions and billions of bacteria. we're directly delivering the postbiotic metabolites that regulate people's health. And another point that I'd like to emphasize, Rico, is that there's a real misunderstanding. People think that taking tens or hundreds of billions of probiotic bacteria orally are going to fix a dysregulated or unbalanced gut microbiome. That term for an unbalanced microbiome is dysbiosis, means you got too many bad bacteria and not enough good bacteria. Taking high-dose probiotics orally really is not an effective way to get bacteria into the colon because, for one thing, stomach acid is from 10,000 to 100,000 times stronger acid than the acidity in the small intestine and the colon. So taking oral probiotics, they're going to be decimated when they get exposed to stomach acid. And another factor is that if bacteria taken orally do arrive in the colon, for many people it's like a food desert because they're not consuming a wide range of these fiber and polyphenol containing foods, the plant-based foods that will feed their gut microbiome. So the real breakthrough is that Dr. Ohhira's probiotics directly delivers these postbiotic metabolites, and we've got multiple studies showing a wide range of benefits from people who do take Dr. Ohhira's probiotics and ingest these postbiotic metabolites orally.
So how are they digested? I mean, how are they taken?
It's a capsule, a relatively small capsule, easy to swallow, and it's in a capsule that stays hard in the acid environment in the stomach, and then it dissolves and releases the content when it gets into the more alkaline environment in the small intestine and the colon. And for example, short-chain fatty acids are one of the major types of postbiotic metabolites, but there's also organic acids and nucleic acids and fulvic acids and amino acids. And one thing I emphasize to people is the optimal environment to support the growth of your beneficial bacteria is a weakly acidic environment. And Dr. Ohhira's contains over 100 weakly acidic postbiotic metabolites. So this is how you regulate the gut microbiome ecosystem so that your own innate bacteria can begin to produce these postbiotic metabolites. We've got studies in athletes that show that taking Dr. Ohhira's probiotics for 4 weeks, they get an increase in heart function, an increase in lung function, increase in the anaerobic threshold, which means they can exercise intensely for longer periods before lactic acid builds up in the muscles. So numerous studies that show these benefits from Dr. Ohhira's. One interesting study, Rico, was done on college-age women that have a long history of constipation. So the women took either 3 capsules of Dr. Ohhira's daily or a placebo for 4 weeks. And at the end of 1 month, all the women that had a long history of constipation were having normal bowel movements. Wow, so funny. Dr. Ohhira's can be used for either people with diarrhea or people with constipation. It normalizes gut function. And so that's the main message here with Dr. Ohhira's. It normalizes gut function and supports a healthy gut microbiome.
Yeah, okay. That sounds some really great information that we need to take action on. So, as always, I always recommend to our audience, we bring you some really great information and some, something that you can actually do that's really going to improve your health, but you got to take action on it. So, again, we'll definitely put how you can contact Ross and how you can check out the other products. And I know you have a great gift as well. You guys are offering a great gift. It's get a free copy of Dr. Ohhira's Probiotics Postbiotic Metabolites, and also a free copy of your quick reference guide for drug-induced nutrients. I have a copy of that. That's so good. Your drug-induced nutrients, because that's so important. So isn't that one of the biggest problems why people have such nutrient deficiency? Because they're taking so many prescription drugs, right?
Exactly. And a lot of the prescription drugs actually tend to upset the gut microbiome. Another thing I'll send to you, Rico, that you can post in the show notes for all of our listeners. I'll send a link to my article, Postbiotic Metabolites, The New Frontier in Microbiome Science. I'll send a link for my follow-up article titled The Microbiome Theory of Aging. And a new article I've just had published this month is called Postbiotic Metabolites, A Paradigm Shift in Microbiome Science. And a third article, a link I'll send for people, is titled The Oral Probiotic Dilemma, that provides a scientific explanation for why taking probiotics orally is really not very effective.
Yeah, so good. Well, we just have maybe a couple of minutes left. So I want you to talk just a little bit more about, how we say that virtually all chronic age-related diseases are associated with gut problems. So talk a little bit about how that works.
You bet. So over 2,000 years ago, Hippocrates, who's credited with being the father of medicine, made the statement, all disease begins in the gut. I think that needs to be edited a little bit. I say all chronic diseases begin in the gut. And Rico, there are multiple studies published in the scientific literature linking all chronic diseases to gut dysbiosis, or an imbalance between the good and the bad bacteria in your gut. Things like heart disease and cancer and autism and dementia, all these diseases have links to dysbiosis and problems in the gut. And I'd like to emphasize that a healthy gut microbiome, Rico, is about 85 to 90% good or beneficial bacteria and only 10 to 15% potentially bad bacteria. The bad bacteria aren't harmful unless they become too numerous and things get out of balance. But as I mentioned earlier, antibiotics, bad diet, agricultural pesticides and insecticides, chlorinated water, all these things tend to disrupt your microbiome. So people have to be proactive about creating and maintaining a healthy gut microbiome. And Dr. Ohhira's Probiotics is the best way to do that. And people can go to our website, essentialformulas.com, to get more information about Dr. Ohhira's Probiotics, or find a store in their area that's carrying these products.
Yeah, that's so good. Well, just one last question is, and so just to simplify it, the reason a healthy gut is so important, and it's so important to produce these post metabolites, is because if you don't have these post metabolites, you're not getting the nutrition that your body needs. Is that correct?
Exactly. I think these postbiotic metabolites should be recognized as essential nutrients, like vitamins and minerals and essential fatty acids and essential amino acids. These postbiotic metabolites are absolutely essential for good health. And so that's the story, and nothing provides these postbiotic metabolites like Dr. Ohhira's Probiotics. Over 500 postbiotic metabolites in every dose.
Very good. Well, Ross, thanks so much for your work, and thank you so much for being here. That was really great, and I really encourage our audience to take you up. Be sure and get those free gifts that he's offering, and go to the website. We'll put all that information in the show description so you can go there. And I know I kind of forgot about it myself the last time we talked, so I got to go get some myself. I know I understand how important that is. Yeah. So thank you very much for being here, Ross. That was great.
Here we go. Thanks for all your good work. Have a good day.
Thanks to our audience. All right, we are back. And I have another short message for you from one of our sponsors, and then we'll get into the last segment.
In a perfect world, we would all be happy, healthy, and successful. But stress, family, genetics, and life's little surprises take their toll on our brains, our bodies, and our psyche. And our quality of life suffers because we're not functioning at our best. Well, you can start by training your brain with the Quantum Mind method. This is not a game, and it's not a toy. It's developed by the world's only brainwave entrainment engineer, backed by over 40 years of research and development. It's 100% natural and couldn't be easier to use. With regular listening, your brain will naturally become stronger, more efficient, your most reliable ally, and all with almost no effort. You can achieve anything you want and get the most out of your life with the Quantum Mind method. The world is yours, so take it. Take it now.
Hello, I'm Rico. Hello, I'm Rico Caveglia. Welcome to this episode of Fearless Aging. And the title of this segment is The Nervous System's Secret to Aging Well in Mind, Body, and Spirit. So we're going to talk about quantum yoga. And to me, I think the term quantum means multi-dimensional yoga, yes. And our expert guest, her name is Mariko Hirakawa. She is the founder and CEO of Visionary Yoga, a unique personal development company that uplifts and transforms leaders. She is also an international best-selling author of the book, The Yoga of Personal Development. Having achieved her early goal in life to become a professional ballet dancer, she had filled her life purpose, but was left questioning her true path in life. So this is when she discovered yoga as a scientific system for the unleashing of human potential. And working as a yoga instructor, she attracted many terminal illness patients. And this led to a burning quest for a healing modality to help them, and it led her to pursue the study of yogic healing science as its source in India. In 2003, she was accepted as a fellowship scholar to study Ayurvedic medicine and yoga in India, where she lived for 10 years. Wow. And studied with master healers and yogis. Since returning to the West in 2013, Mariko has made it her life mission to help men and women restore their physical, mental, spiritual vitality so they can live their purpose and make the impact that they were meant to make in this life. So Mariko Hirakawa, thanks so much for being here.
What an honor and joy, Rico. So nice to be here. Thank you.
And I really like what we said here in your bio, because that's what it's all about. It's all about being as healthy and as energetic so you can live your purpose, right? I mean, we're all here with a purpose, right? We're not here for no reason. So that's the big thing, that more people need to be living their life on purpose. And I think that's true. We'd have a much more peaceful and prosperous world for everybody, wouldn't they?
Absolutely. And I've begun to really think about my work as, helping people to live from their future self, which, sounds abstract, but it's really, what I mean by the future self is like the most highest and vital expression of, because we have many versions of ourselves, right? There's many possible versions of ourselves, but out of that, that's what it's, the quantum is like, out of all the possibilities, like choosing the highest, striking the highest, and being very intentional in how we live day to day, moment to moment.
I was just going to ask you about that, because I really like that. And for me, living from your highest self or future self, because we can kind of get stuck and maybe things aren't going quite so well right now. But if you keep your focus on what you can become and what's possible in your life, that's going to raise up your vibration and keep you motivated, right?
Absolutely. It's really, right now, especially in the decade of the 2020s, 1920s was called the roaring 20s, but this is another kind of roar, right? The 2020s. There's so much happening. It's like the dismantling of one version of the civilization and rebuilding of another. There's old paradigms dissolving and new ones not yet erected. So there's so much happening in the three-dimensional realm of space-time, right, that we are all think of as reality. So it's important to have practices, or at least one practice that helps us rise above the din, and transcend that and find that most vital version of yourself, no matter what's happening in the outer world, personally or politically or environmentally or whatever else, So that is really, I think, important thing that yoga, what I call yoga with a capital Y, can teach us.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so you're doing some really great work, because as you just mentioned, there's so much chaos right now, but we're going through the shift, right? We're going through the shift, and I think, from the spiritual teachings that I know about, the light is finally becoming to start to take over the darkness in the world. And so, but it exposes a lot more things that are going on in the world,
Right.
and so people can get kind of living in a little bit of fear and anxiety, but really we're moving forward in the right direction. So it's so important to, as you mentioned, to live with intention and what you can become. So let's talk about, you talk about the nervous system. The nervous system is really what regulates everything in our system. So talk about how that works, and talk a little bit about how the nervous system works.
Yes, so I have noticed, especially in this age of massive turbulence and shift, that some people are just living in constant state of anxiety, like low grade anxiety and fear always, and it's so important to have a daily practice of regulating your nervous systems. We have, mainly we know that we have the parasympathetic nervous system, which is really handling your baseline, keeping your organs nourished and all those vital functioning. And that is so important to stay primarily in your parasympathetic nervous system. And sympathetic nervous system should be reserved for those real emergencies, right? And in old days, it's like the saber-toothed tiger, but we're not living in that age anymore. But that sympathetic nervous system tends to stay jacked up because the world is shifting, and it seems every day there's a headline or that's like, what? We tend to start living in the sympathetic nervous system, and then we start reacting to, and we're focused. When you're in survival mode, your focus is automatically on the negative. Because, if you're living in the jungle and saber-toothed tiger could attack you, then you want to be aware of the most threatening thing in your environment, right? But that works very much against us when you're trying to evolve, when you're trying to expand, deepen your ability to live from joy, from an expanded state. We start living in survival instead. So that is why yoga is one of the most universal, non-denominational, scientific. What I mean by scientific is that it is ABC, step by step. No matter what religion, what faith, what your belief, what your orientation is, it works because it's aligned with universal laws. So that is one of the greatest gifts from the sages who gave us yoga. And the sages never claimed they invented it. It's not a thing that's created from the human mind. It's very clear. The sages say we're just channels, and we're just, telling it to you like it is, how we receive it from our deep meditations. And they were called seers. Rishis means seers because the perceptions were so clear, and they could just, receive it. And then they gave it to us as they saw. They said, here are the laws. Now do with it what you think is right, So they gave us a lot of freedom. And of course, with freedom comes great responsibility, right? So first thing in yoga I see today is that there's so much emphasis on movement and posture. And we see it everywhere, the Instagram, and there's so much emphasis on crazy feats of, standing on your head, lotus pose, or crazy acrobatic feats. And people start to think, wow, yoga is amazing, but it's not for me because I can't do that, and it becomes also a thing maybe only for young people because, it's not, people can't conceive of their own body doing that. But that misses the point because yoga truly is for everybody. The physical yoga that we see advertised as yoga is just a branch of a branch called Hatha yoga. That's the physical yoga. But there is mainly 4 major branches of yoga. So there's karma yoga, yoga of action, of mindful action, aligned action. There is the yoga of devotion, of learning to channel your emotions in the higher way. And then there is the yoga of knowledge, self-knowledge, which means, inquiring, performing self-inquiry. and sharpening your faculty of discernment. And then you have the yoga of Raja Yoga, the meditation. So Hatha Yoga, what we see in the world is a branch of Raja Yoga. People, the sages developed it so that they could sit longer without their bodies aching. So originally, Hatha Yoga, this yoga that we see today, was for the purpose of being able to meditate and hold those deeper states, And that's why the Hatha Yoga, it comes from an awakened nervous system. In the yogic tradition, there is a master to disciple, guru shishya parampara, we call it. From master to disciple, this transmission of sacred energy happened, and this awakening, when the awakening of energy happened, that awakened energy started to push through and clear the nervous system of all the impurities that had accumulated. And so the yogi's body spontaneously went into postures, kind of this. So it created many postures, asanas in Hatha Yoga comes from the awakening of that original Kundalini awakening. And that's why when we do those asanas, those postures, there is a natural, balancing of the nervous system that happens. It's really such a simple but ingenious, way this yoga was developed. So that's, by practicing those asanas and the breathing practices also, they start to really create a much more balanced state of mind. And the body is accessible, the breath is accessible. It's very hard to control the mind, It's very hard to control the mind. It's a monkey mind, right? So how do we regulate our inner state? Through accessing our posture. Your physiology becomes your psychology, right? That's how we regulate our inner state. For every state of being, there is a certain rate of breathing. Some states, your inhalation is longer than your exhalation. Like when you're depressed, you exhale a lot more than you inhale. It's like that, right? So by regulating your inhales and exhales and prolonging the holding between breaths, you can heighten awareness and you can kind of like de-escalate your nervous system. And this is key to longevity. If you're reacting to everything all the time and your breath is shallow and irregular, it's like creating chaos in your viscera, in your nervous system, right? So this
I just want to add, we now know, from medical science that what manifests in our physical body as some kind of a chronic illness, it begins in our mental, emotional state. So that's why it's so important to get a handle on your mental state and your emotions and your nervous system. So you mentioned that there's really 4 different stages of yoga. So you utilize all these different 4 stages when you work with people to help them to.
Yes, well, people have different natures, right? Some people are predominantly intellectual. In this digital era, I think many people are leading with their intellect, with their, and intellect is a sharp knife, right? But us, we try to create wholeness through the intellectual analysis, but that's like scalpel, So for every, some people are more emotional in nature. And so for each type of person, some people are more action oriented, some people are, naturally drawn to meditation. So these are 4 different, 4 paths, all leading to the same goal of, self-realization. But the sages realized there's different dominance, different nature of people, right? Some people are very action-oriented. They can't sit still. So for those people, the yoga of action is so important, And so it's in the great, we call this Maha Yoga, the modern contemporary masters of yoga, such as Satchidananda, who gave us the integral yoga, and Muktananda. There's great, contemporary sages who brought yoga to the West. They understood that in this era, we need an integrated path. Nobody is going to follow exclusively one path. It has to be integrated. And still, people will be drawn to some people are drawn to chanting and, they want to express through melody, and that devotional chanting helps open them up. Some people want to do the postures, the hatha yoga. They're athletes, and that's the way they want to pursue that path. So for each human being, according to what we call in yoga sanskar, their impressions, the way they've been molded through life. And yoga talks about not just this life, but other lifetimes as well. We were born in a certain dominance, right? And I have more of a devotional nature, so I find the chanting of the mantras really helps to open up my heart, and it charges my my energy field. But people are different, so different natures, and for each person, and it's not one is better than the other. We have to find that yoga that is that you have a natural affinity with, and do that path. That's the genius of the sages.
Well, also, since you study Ayurvedic medicine, so
Yes.
you also help people with Ayurvedic is like a holistic type of natural.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I felt, when I was, won this scholarship, I wanted to, because I had this experience of when I first started to teach yoga, encountering all these stage 4 terminally ill cancer patients, and it was devastating for me as a fledgling teacher, but it taught me so much. They were my greatest gurus, really. They taught me how to, face life, but I also wanted to give them things that help ease their state. And I was hoping to find a cure in Ayurveda. I still haven't found it, but there are many things that are very helpful to strengthen your immune system, to allow support your body in resisting dis-ease, and also learning. It's also a discipline of self-knowledge, self-awareness. Like, what is your elemental makeup? Hot yoga is not for everybody, because it can be very helpful for somebody of an earth constitution versus, air or fire constitution, so it's knowing yourself and knowing what foods and place and activity is going to balance you and what is going to imbalance you. So Ayurveda is very helpful in living your day-to-day life.
So we're just about out of time. Mariko, talk a little bit about you. I know you have some online courses that you teach, and also you also offer intensive retreats. So just talk a little bit about that, who they're for, and what they're going to learn in those courses.
Okay. I want to just offer to your tribe this wonderful gift that is about activating your future self, because we're all, tend to live from past conditioning. Conditioning is so strong. And in this era of the 2020s, it's important to, on a daily basis, to really touch the higher frequency version of you. So this is called Quantum Future Self Activation Meditation. And you can find this at visionaryyoga.com/future self. So visionaryyoga.com/future self. And it's a practice you can do about 10 to 15 minutes to access that higher version of you, to regulate your nervous system. And to go deeper into that, I offer retreats that is really about really doing that work on a daily basis, right? The physical yoga, but all the practices of the classical yoga that is updated by modern science to help us step into that most vital and abundant and resilient version of ourselves. And the next one will be in May 2026, May 1st through 3rd, 2026, in the beautiful Catskills in New York. And it's just joyous renewal, because again, it's about renewing, living life with a fresh, young spirit, and waking up with joy and purpose, and understanding, like, every day, spending each moment in a meaningful way, because we've been given this life. It's a gift,
It's a choice, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's a
choose to
moment of choice.
All right. Well, I will definitely, and so they can just at your website, they can find out all about your course and
Yes, visionaryyoga.com. Yes.
and then we'll definitely put that link where they can get your gift of that future self activation meditation. That's so good. Mariko, thanks so much for being here. And thanks for the work that you're doing. It's so needed in the world today. Thank you so much for that. And I've really enjoyed our conversations. So thanks to our audience. And
Me
any
too.
last word?
Thank you so
Any
much
last
for the work you do.
All right. All right. Thank you very much. All right. That's our show for today. We just got about a few seconds left. I just want to highly encourage you to take advantage of all of our guests, and they have gifts for you. They have so much knowledge and information to help you. So be sure and contact them, and so you can improve your health span and your lifespan. Thanks very much for being here.